My son's fiancée told her law partners I was just the school janitor who empties trash bins for minimum wage. I'm Robert Harrison. What Jessica didn't know was straightforward. For 23 years, I'd been presiding over Ontario Superior Court. 4 hours later, the Chief Justice walked into her $400,000 charity gala at the Royal York Hotel. She carried a judicial commendation and a request for my consultation on landmark case precedent. Every attorney in that ballroom watched, including the managing partners whose firm Jessica just compromised forever. Jessica thought she was embarrassing nobody. She destroyed her career trajectory instead. 18 months of treating me like hired help. 18 months of jokes about my $16.50 hourly rate. 18 months of telling her colleagues I was an embarrassment to their professional circle. She never asked the right questions. That gala night, Jessica decided to make her feelings public. Fatal mistake. The judicial commendation revealed my 23 years on the bench. The Law Society confirmed my citation record over conference call. Chief Justice Morrison validated my precedent-setting decisions in open court cases. Jessica's world collapsed in real time. Here's what really happened when a corporate lawyer discovered she'd been attacking a judge who'd shaped Canadian legal precedent. You've probably dealt with people who measure your worth by your tax bracket. People who think Bay Street addresses make them superior. This story is for you. If you're watching this, please subscribe. You're going to want to see how this ends. Let me show you how 23 years of judicial service came out from behind a janitor's mop bucket. The disrespect didn't start at the charity gala. It began 18 months ago, when Jessica Patterson became engaged to my son, Marcus. I was proud of Marcus. He'd built a solid career in software development, pulling in $110,000 annually at a tech firm in downtown Toronto. But Jessica came from established Toronto money. Her family ran Patterson Corporate Law, managing cases worth over $80 million annually across Ontario. They represented Fortune 500 companies, handled massive merger deals, and maintained offices in the TD Centre. The first time she saw me in my custodian uniform at Riverside Secondary School, her expression changed completely. "This is what you do?" she asked, staring at my name tag that read Robert Harrison, maintenance staff. "School custodian," I said. "Someone has to keep the hallways clean." She turned to Marcus. "Your father is a janitor." The way she said it stung, like I was invisible. Like 23 years of service meant nothing because she couldn't see the full picture. My wife, Catherine, tried to smooth things over. "Robert has had a varied career, Jessica. This is just his current chapter." But Jessica had already formed her opinion. At family dinners, she'd introduce me to her colleagues differently. "This is Marcus's father. He works at a high school." Always that pause. Always that look. The second incident happened at Marcus's birthday celebration last winter. Jessica's brother arrived in his new Audi. "Litigation's booming," he announced. "Just settled an $8 million corporate dispute." Jessica nodded approvingly. "Unlike some people, we believe in building substantial careers, not just cleaning up after others." She looked directly at me when she said it. I continued eating my dinner. "Someone has to do the cleaning," I said quietly. But inside, something was building. You can only absorb so much before you start questioning whether staying silent truly protects anyone. The third incident was the breaking point. Jessica was organizing the engagement party, showing her mother and sisters the $12,000 Holt Renfrew dress she'd selected. "We're investing $75,000 in this engagement celebration," she declared. "Marcus's family better not embarrass us in front of our legal community." Her mother asked about the guest list. "Marcus's father works as a school janitor," Jessica said, like she was apologizing. "Hopefully he'll dress appropriately. Perhaps we can seat him away from the senior partners." That's when Catherine finally spoke up. "Robert Harrison has served this province longer than you've been practicing law, Jessica." "Served how?" Jessica laughed. "By mopping floors and cleaning whiteboards?" Catherine looked at me. I shook my head slightly. "Not yet." "You'll understand eventually," Catherine said. But Jessica just rolled her eyes. "I understand perfectly. Some people reach for excellence, others settle for adequate. I lived in a modest $800 monthly apartment in North York, drove a 2018 Honda Accord with 92,000 kilometers, shopped at No Frills with coupons. By every measure Jessica valued, I was exactly what she assumed, a failure. What she didn't know was that I chose this life deliberately. After 2 decades of complex judicial decisions, contentious trials, and cases that would give most people sleepless nights, I wanted simplicity. I wanted to mop floors in a quiet school, interact with kids who didn't know my legal background, and return home to Catherine without the weight of life-altering decisions. But simplicity comes with a price. People judge what they see. They don't question encrypted voicemail from the Attorney General's office. They don't notice when you instinctively analyze legal arguments in casual conversation. They definitely don't recognize the significance of mail from Osgood Hall. Jessica saw a 62-year-old man in custodian coveralls, earning $16.50 hourly. She had no idea she was looking at someone who'd written precedent-setting decisions on constitutional law and presided over cases that shaped Ontario's legal landscape. But that was about to change. Because on November 15th, 2024, at the most prestigious legal charity gala Toronto's legal community held all year, my judicial past and Jessica's public arrogance were about to collide. And 220 of Ontario's most influential attorneys were going to witness every second of it. The stakes weren't just about wounded pride. This was fracturing my family. Marcus was trapped in the middle, trying to maintain peace between his fiancée and his father. I watched him lose weight, work excessive hours, anything to avoid the tension at home. "Dad, maybe you could, I don't know, explain your background to Jessica?" he asked one evening. "Son, some professional histories are complicated to explain." "But she thinks you're," he stopped himself. "A failure?" Marcus's silence confirmed it. The financial pressure was real, too. Jessica wanted an engagement party that would impress her Bay Street circle. $75,000 wasn't just celebration. It was Jessica's way of proving the Patterson family hadn't made a mistake, letting their daughter engage someone whose father was a janitor. Marcus was covering 40% of it. His savings depleted, his stress level astronomical. "We could have something smaller," he suggested to Jessica once. "Absolutely not. My family has professional standards. We're not having some backyard barbecue because your father can't afford to contribute properly." The truth was, I could have written a check for the entire event without touching my actual accounts. But those accounts were connected to my judicial pension and accumulated investments from years on the bench. Opening them meant opening questions I wasn't ready to answer. So I contributed what a school custodian could reasonably afford, $3,200. Money that came from exactly where Jessica thought it came from. She made certain everyone knew. Robert gave us his modest contribution. She mentioned to her mother during party planning. Every bit helps, I suppose. The real stakes went deeper than money. This was about identity, family, and what happens when someone you love chooses status over substance. Catherine was furious. 23 years, Robert. 23 years you've kept quiet about everything. How long are you going to let her treat you like this? Until it threatens Marcus's well-being fundamentally. It's already threatening Marcus's well-being fundamentally. She was right. Marcus had started avoiding family gatherings. When he did attend, he looked exhausted, like he was fighting battles on multiple fronts. Jessica, meanwhile, was getting bolder. She started making comments in front of Marcus's colleagues. Robert works maintenance at some high school in North York. It's honest work. Always that pause, always that tone, suggesting honest work, was the consolation prize for people who couldn't achieve more. But the real breaking point came 2 weeks before the engagement party. Marcus called me at midnight. "Dad, Jessica's threatening to uninvite you." "What?" "She says you'll embarrass her professional network. She wants to seat you at a back table with the catering staff." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "What did you tell her?" "I told her absolutely not. You're my father. You'll sit at the family table or I'll cancel the entire event." That's when I realized the stakes had transformed. This wasn't about my pride anymore. This was about my son's relationship, his future, his sense of self-worth. Jessica was using my perceived failure as leverage to control Marcus. If she could make him ashamed of his father, she could control how he saw himself, his worth, his place in her world. I had two choices: continue playing the humble custodian and watch my son's engagement become a power struggle where I was the weapon, or reveal enough truth to balance the scales. But there was a third option I hadn't considered. What if Jessica revealed her true character so publicly, so dramatically, that the choice was made for me? What if I simply waited? The charity gala was scheduled for November 15th at the Royal York Hotel. 220 guests, including senior partners from every major Bay Street firm, several Court of Appeal judges, and 4 people whose landmark cases I'd presided over. Jessica had spent months planning the perfect stage to showcase her family's legal prominence. She had no idea she was about to perform on a stage where certain audience members knew exactly who I really was. "Marcus," I said finally, "tell Jessica I'll be there. Family table seating, and I'm bringing a guest." "Who?" "Your mother deserves to see this." Because Catherine had protected my privacy for 23 years on the bench. She'd watched me come home with cases I couldn't discuss, handle threats I couldn't mention, and maintain judicial neutrality in situations that officially never occurred publicly. She'd earned the right to watch Jessica learn what happens when you mistake quiet dignity for weakness. The gala was 2 weeks away. Jessica was about to get the public platform she'd always wanted. She just didn't know what kind of performance it was going to be. 3 days before the gala, Jessica's mask finally slipped completely. We were at the pre-event reception at the Patterson Law offices. 80 close colleagues and family, all gathered in their glass-walled boardroom overlooking Toronto's financial district. Jessica stood up to make a toast. "I want to thank everyone for being here," she began, holding her wine glass. "This weekend represents everything our professional community values: excellence, achievement, and legacy." She looked at her parents' table, where her father, David Patterson, senior partner, nodded approvingly. He'd built Patterson Corporate Law from a small practice to an $80 million operation. Old Toronto money, the kind that comes with professional expectations. "Tomorrow I'm celebrating my engagement to the most wonderful man," Jessica continued, looking at Marcus. "Someone who shares my commitment to building something significant." Then her eyes found me. "We believe in surrounding ourselves with people who inspire us to achieve more. People who understand that success isn't luck. It's dedication." The implication hung in the air like smoke. Jessica's mother, Victoria Patterson, leaned toward Catherine. "What does Robert do again, Catherine?" "School maintenance," Catherine said simply. "Oh." Victoria's tone shifted. "How stable." But Jessica wasn't done. "Some people are content with simple lives," she said, still looking in my direction. "There's nothing wrong with that. Someone has to clean the classrooms and empty the bins." A few guests shifted uncomfortably. Marcus's face went red. "Jessica, what?" "I'm just saying everyone has their role. Some people pursue professional excellence, others," she shrugged. "Others do what they can." That's when I stood up. The room went quiet. Jessica looked surprised. She wasn't accustomed to me responding publicly. "May I?" I asked, gesturing toward my water glass. Jessica couldn't refuse without appearing petty. "Of course." I lifted my glass. To understanding that service comes in many forms. Some serve visibly, others serve quietly. Both matter. I took a sip and sat down. Jessica's confidence faltered slightly, but she recovered. "Exactly. Everyone contributes according to their abilities." But something had shifted. I'd drawn a boundary, and she'd felt it. After the reception, she cornered Marcus in the hallway. I was standing close enough to hear every word. "Your father embarrassed me." He made a toast. He made a point in front of my colleagues. "My family built this firm. They employ hundreds. They don't need lectures about service from someone who mops floors." That's enough. Is it? Because tomorrow, in front of every influential attorney in Toronto, your father is going to sit at our family table. What do you think that says about us? Marcus looked exhausted. "It says we're family. It says you're not serious about your professional future." I stepped around the corner. Both of them froze. "Problem?" I asked quietly. Jessica's face flushed. We were just discussing seating arrangements. I heard. For a moment, nobody spoke. Jessica was calculating, trying to determine if I'd heard enough to cause real trouble. Robert, she said finally, I hope you understand. This gala is very important to my family's reputation. I understand completely. Good. Because tomorrow there will be some very influential people there. Senior partners, judges, corporate counsel. First impressions matter. They do. Jessica studied my face, looking for anger, hurt, anything she could use. But I kept my expression neutral. I'm sure you'll represent the family appropriately, she said. I always do. But as she walked away, I heard her whisper to Marcus. We'll discuss this later. The next morning, November 15th, 2024, I put on my best suit, navy blue, nothing flashy. The kind of outfit a school custodian might wear to his son's engagement gala. Catherine watched me get dressed. You're really going to let her humiliate you in front of 220 people? I'm going to let her show everyone who she really is. And if Marcus gets hurt in the process, I looked at my wife of 34 years. Marcus is about to learn something very important about the woman he's planning to marry. Better now than after children are involved. Catherine nodded slowly. The secure line has been buzzing all morning. I know. Chief Justice Morrison, among others. Robert, are you certain about this? I finished adjusting my tie. Jessica wants to make a public statement about professional values and social standing. She's about to get her wish. In front of everyone. In front of everyone. Because sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to let them push so far, so publicly, that everyone can see exactly who they are. Jessica wanted to put me in my place. She was about to learn what my place actually was. The morning of the gala, strange things started happening that Jessica couldn't ignore. First, there was the phone call. I was getting coffee in the hotel lobby when my secure mobile rang, the one with the provincial seal on the case. Harrison. Robert, it's Morrison. We need to talk. Chief Justice Morrison, my former colleague, now head of Ontario's Superior Court. Jessica was standing 15 feet away, close enough to hear my tone change. Not today, Morrison. Family event. That's exactly why we need to talk. Check your secure correspondence. I hung up and turned around. Jessica was staring at the phone. Interesting ringtone, she said. Very official sounding. Work phone, I said simply. For school board communications. School custodians don't get calls that make them use first names with people who sound like judges. But I could see her mind working. Something didn't fit. The second thing happened at the venue. We were setting up for photographs when two people in dark suits approached me. Excuse me, are you Robert Harrison? Jessica's attention sharpened immediately. One of the people had that unmistakable court security posture. Depends who's asking. Officer Kendall, Court Services. We need to verify your identity for security protocol purposes. Jessica stepped closer. Security protocol for what? Officer Kendall looked at her, then back at me. Sir, we just need confirmation of your current address for updated records. I rattled off my North York apartment address. The officers nodded and walked away. Jessica grabbed my arm. Robert, what was that about? No idea. Maybe something at the school. Court Services doesn't care about school custodians. You'd be surprised what provincial agencies care about these days. But her suspicion was growing. Over the next hour, she kept glancing at me, trying to piece together things that didn't fit her narrative. The third thing was the delivery. A hotel courier brought a sealed envelope to our room. Jessica was there when I signed for it. The letterhead read, Office of the Chief Justice, Superior Court of Justice, Ontario. Jessica's eyes went wide. Chief Justice letterhead. Robert, what the hell is going on? Probably Retired Judges Association correspondence. They share letterhead sometimes. That says Office of the Chief Justice. Official mail. All looks similar. I took the envelope and set it aside, but Jessica was practically vibrating with curiosity. Open it. It's private. Robert, if you're in some kind of trouble, I'm not in trouble. Then what is it? I looked at her for a long moment. Jessica, some things in life are more complicated than they appear. What's that supposed to mean? Before I could answer, Catherine walked in. Robert, we need to talk, she said, seeing the envelope. Privately. Jessica looked between us. This is ridiculous. It's my engagement gala, and everyone's acting like there's some massive secret. Catherine looked at the Chief Justice letterhead. Some secrets are worth keeping. What secrets? He's a school custodian. Is he? Catherine asked quietly. Jessica stared at her. What do you mean, is he? Maybe you should ask him about his judicial robes. His... what? I shot Catherine a warning look, but she continued. Or his precedent-setting decisions. Or why he gets personal correspondence from the Chief Justice. Jessica's face went pale. I don't understand. You will, Catherine said. Very soon. Stop talking in riddles. What aren't you telling me? I stepped forward. Jessica, today is about you and Marcus. Let's focus on that. No. I want to know what's going on. Why are court services officers asking about you? Why is the Chief Justice sending you mail? What aren't you telling me? The room fell silent. Jessica was practically shaking with frustration and growing fear that she'd missed something crucial. You really want to know? I asked. Yes. I looked at Catherine, who nodded slightly. Then ask me again tonight. After your speeches. In front of everyone. What? You want answers? Ask me in front of all your important colleagues. Ask me about my real background. Ask me about my service record. Ask me anything you want. Jessica's confidence wavered. What are you saying? I'm saying be careful what you wish for. Because in 4 hours, she was going to get her chance. The gala setup went smoothly. Jessica looked stunning in her designer gown, and Marcus couldn't stop smiling. For 3 hours, everything was perfect. Then came the formal reception. The Royal York Ballroom had been transformed into something from a legal magazine. White orchids, crystal installations, a jazz quartet. 220 of Ontario's most influential legal minds filled the space. I spotted familiar faces in the crowd. Justice Margaret Chen from the Court of Appeal, Corporate Counsel Thomas Wright, whose massive merger case I'd overseen in 2019, family law specialist Patricia Goldstein, who'd argued landmark custody precedent in my courtroom. They all knew me by reputation, even if they'd never seen me outside judicial robes. Jessica didn't know any of this. The trouble started during cocktail hour. Jessica was introducing her parents to Marcus's colleagues when she spotted me talking to a distinguished older gentleman in judicial formal wear. Excuse me, she said, approaching us. I don't think we've met. The man nodded politely. Justice William Sterling, Court of Appeal. Robert and I go way back. Jessica's eyes lit up. Court of Appeal meant influence and authority. How do you know Robert? She asked. Sterling glanced at me. I gave him the slightest shake of my head. We've worked together on legal matters, he said carefully. Oh, you're involved in school board legal affairs? Sterling's eyebrows went up. School board? Robert works maintenance at a high school in North York, Jessica explained, like she was helping clear up confusion. Sterling looked at me, then back at Jessica. I see. After he walked away, Jessica grabbed my arm. That man clearly knows you from something more than school maintenance. Maybe. What do you mean, maybe? Robert, I'm tired of these games. What aren't you telling me? Nothing that matters today. But Jessica was getting agitated. The strange phone calls, the court services officers, the Chief Justice correspondence, and now a Court of Appeal justice who obviously knew me from something bigger than cleaning hallways. It does matter, she said, her voice rising. People are looking at you differently, like they know something I don't. You're imagining things. No, I'm not. Justice Chen nodded at you when she walked in. That corporate counsel shook your hand like you were old colleagues. What is going on? I stayed calm. Jessica, today is your day. Don't let paranoia ruin it. Paranoia? Her voice was getting louder. I'm not paranoid. I'm confused. My future father-in-law, who I thought was a simple school custodian, is apparently known by half the legal establishment in Ontario. Marcus appeared at her elbow. Everything okay? No, everything is not okay, Jessica snapped. Your father has been lying to us. About what? About everything. About who he is, what he does, why court services is asking about him. Marcus looked at me. I shrugged. She's having a stressful day. I am not having a stressful day. I'm having a breakdown because nothing makes sense anymore. That's when dinner was announced. We all took our seats at the head table. Jessica spent the entire meal shooting suspicious glances at me while I calmly ate my salmon. But she was boiling over. When the time came for toasts, Jessica's father went first. Traditional engagement, speech about legacy, family, and professional futures. Marcus spoke next, thanking everyone for coming and expressing his commitment to Jessica. Then Jessica stood up. "I want to thank everyone for being here," she began, her voice shaky with barely controlled emotion. "This has been a surprising day." The room sensed something was off. "I've learned a lot about family today, about honesty, about how well we really know the people closest to us." She looked directly at me. "For 18 months, I've known my future father-in-law as a humble school custodian, someone who cleans classrooms for $16.50 an hour." Murmurs around the room. This wasn't a typical engagement toast. But today, I've discovered that court services officers know his name. Chief Justice correspondence arrives for him. Court of Appeal justices treat him like an old colleague. Marcus reached for her arm. "Jessica, sit down." "No." She pulled away. "These people deserve to know who they're celebrating with. Robert Harrison, everyone. School custodian, or whatever it is he really does." The room was dead silent. 220 pairs of eyes were on me. Jessica raised her glass, her hand trembling. "To honesty in family relationships, and to people who think they can hide who they are for years without consequences." She was shaking with rage and confusion. The perfect storm of someone who'd built their identity around being superior to others, only to discover they might be completely wrong. "So here's my question, Robert," she said, her voice echoing in the silent ballroom. "What exactly do you do? Because it's clearly not school maintenance. Are you some kind of legal consultant? Court administrator? What have you been hiding from your own family?" Every eye in the room was on me. Marcus looked mortified. Catherine sat perfectly still, watching. I stood up slowly. "Jessica, you really want to do this? Here? Now? In front of everyone?" "Yes, I want to do this. I want the truth." "The truth about what? About who you really are?" I looked around the room. Justice Chen was watching intently. Thomas Wright had his phone out, probably recording. Patricia Goldstein looked fascinated. "You're certain?" "I'm certain." I nodded and reached into my jacket pocket. "Okay then." I pulled out the Chief Justice letter that had been delivered that morning, still sealed. Let's see what Chief Justice Morrison has to say. The room fell completely silent as I held up the official correspondence. Jessica's face went white. "What is that?" "You wanted the truth," I said, carefully opening the seal. "Let's find out together." I unfolded the letter and began reading aloud. "The Honorable Justice Robert Harrison, Superior Court of Justice, Ontario, retired." Jessica grabbed the table for support. Marcus's mouth fell open. I continued reading. "By request of the Chief Justice, you are hereby summoned for consultation regarding precedent review and constitutional law briefing schedule." The room erupted in whispers. Jessica was hyperventilating. "The Chief Justice hereby acknowledges your 23 years of distinguished service on the Superior Court bench, including landmark decisions in constitutional law, family law precedent, and your citation in 17 Court of Appeal rulings." Jessica made a choking sound. Several guests started pulling out their phones. "Furthermore," I continued, "the Law Society of Ontario recognizes your contribution to Canadian jurisprudence and requests your participation in the upcoming Judicial Education Symposium." I folded the letter and looked at Jessica. "You asked who I really am. Justice Robert Harrison, Superior Court of Ontario, retired. 23 years on the bench. Constitutional law specialist. Precedent-setting decisions in family law, corporate litigation, and criminal procedure." The applause started slowly, then built to a thunderous ovation. Jessica looked like she was going to faint. Justice Sterling stood up. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the presence of one of Ontario's finest legal minds." But I wasn't done. "The letter also mentioned something else," I said, reaching into my other pocket. "Chief Justice Morrison sends her regards." I pulled out my retired judicial identification and a worn case containing my Law Society commendations. Morrison and I sat on the bench together for 15 years. She's Chief Justice now. Asked me to bring these tonight in case anyone had questions about my credentials. I opened the case, revealing the judicial commendations and professional recognitions. The room gasped. Jessica was gripping the table so hard her knuckles were white. But you said you were... I said exactly what my professional situation required me to say, I replied calmly. For the past 3 years since retirement, I've chosen to work as a school custodian. It keeps me active, lets me interact with young people, and gives me simplicity after decades of complex legal decisions. Marcus stared at me. Dad, is this all real? It's real, son. Jessica finally found her voice. You let me, for 18 months. You let me think. I let you think what you wanted to think. I let you show everyone exactly who you are when you think you're safe to do it. That's when Justice Chen approached our table. Justice Harrison, the family law precedent you set in 2018, shaped how we approach custody decisions in this province. Thank you for your service. Thomas Wright was next. The corporate merger case you oversaw saved my client $40 million in litigation costs. Your legal reasoning was impeccable. One by one, people Jessica had wanted to impress began sharing how they knew me, not as Robert Harrison, school custodian, but as Justice Harrison, Superior Court. A senior partner from McCarthy Tetrol stepped forward. Justice Harrison, our firm has been trying to reach you for months about an expert consultation role, 7-figure annual retainer. Jessica watched in horror as the same legal community she'd known for years suddenly looked at me with profound respect. But you work maintenance, she said weakly. You live in that apartment. You drive that old car. I chose that life, I said. After 23 years of life-altering legal decisions, I wanted simple. I wanted to mop floors and not carry the weight of cases that determined people's futures. But the money. You only gave us $3,200 for the gala because that's what a custodian could afford. I wasn't ready to explain where the rest came from. Officer Kendall from Court Services appeared at my side. Justice Harrison, we have your security clearance renewal. Standard protocol for retired judges consulting on active cases. He handed me an official document. Jessica saw the judicial seal and made a sound like a wounded animal. Additionally, Officer Kendall continued, the Attorney General's office has requested your availability for the Constitutional Review Panel next month. Jessica stared at him. Attorney General? Ma'am, Justice Harrison wrote precedent-setting decisions that shaped Ontario law. There are ongoing consultations that require his expertise. The full weight of what she'd done was finally hitting Jessica. She'd spent 18 months publicly humiliating someone who dedicated his career to shaping the legal system that governed her profession. Wait, she whispered. This can't be real. I pulled out my secure phone and dialed a number. It rang once. Harrison. Morrison, it's Robert. I'm at my son's engagement gala. Jessica here has some questions about my judicial service. I put the phone on speaker. Chief Justice Morrison's voice filled the silent ballroom. Good evening, everyone. This is Chief Justice Helen Morrison, Superior Court of Justice, Ontario. I'm calling to confirm that Justice Robert Harrison is indeed one of Ontario's most distinguished jurists. Jessica was gripping the table, swaying slightly. Justice Harrison spent 23 years on the Superior Court bench. Morrison continued via speakerphone. His decisions shaped family law precedent, influenced constitutional interpretation, and set standards for corporate litigation procedures across this province. The room was completely silent except for Jessica's rapid breathing. He received the Law Society's Medal for Excellence in 2015 for his contribution to Canadian jurisprudence. His constitutional law rulings have been cited in Supreme Court decisions. His family law precedents are taught in every law school in Canada. Morrison paused. Justice Harrison chose to retire early and work in a humble capacity to maintain connection with community after decades of complex legal service. Many of our finest judges choose simple occupations after retirement. I ended the call and looked at Jessica. Any other questions about my background? She was crying now, her designer makeup running down her cheeks. I ruined everything. You revealed everything, I corrected. There's a difference. Because the truth was finally out. Not just about my judicial service, but about what kind of person Jessica really was when she thought she was safe to show it. And 220 of Toronto's most influential legal minds had witnessed every second of it.